Hello, everyone, and welcome to 2025 album series. So this will be the third of these 52 album series that we've done. First one we did in 2023, where it was 52 essential albums. So just 52 albums that I really like. Last year in 2024, we did 52 new albums. So albums that were either entirely new to me or albums that I had only maybe heard a few of the tracks on. A lot of them were entirely new because a lot of them came out last year. But for 2025, we're basically going to go back and it will be basically 52 more essential albums. So just albums that I really like. Some of them may be completely new, but a lot of them are going to be albums that I've had in my collection for a while and really, really like. So we are starting it off like we did in 2023 with a Foo Fighters record. So in this episode, we're talking about Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. First released September 25th, 2007. Some notable tracks on this album include The Pretender, Let It Die, Come Alive, and Summer's End. And I really, really love this album. It's one of my favorite albums from them, and it's actually climbed the ranks for me quite a bit in the last few years. So before it was kind of always in the middle, kind of just average on it, and now it's actually in my top three albums from the Foo Fighters. I think if I were to list my top three currently, it is There Is Nothing Left to Lose. That's my absolute favorite. And then followed that by Wasting Light, and then Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace at 3. And then fourth, I think I'd come in with But Here We Are, their newest album, came out in 2023. And then in fifth is The Color and the Shape. I know that's kind of maybe sacrilege to a lot of fans, where The Color and the Shape is their absolute favorite. But I just feel over the last few years, I've liked that album just a little bit less. I think it's maybe not quite as cohesive as some of the other albums in my top three. But The Color and the Shape is still just an incredible album. Really love all their albums in some way or another, even though I don't listen to all that often. But again, this episode is about Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. So I have some notes here about it, and we're going to get through those notes, and then we will get to the track list and all that as well. So here we go. So like we said, released September 25th, 2007. This is their sixth studio album. It's the follow-up to In Your Honor. This and that album at the time were recorded at their Studio 606 in LA. I've been there a couple times. Plan on going back again later this year. You obviously can't go inside of it. Just walk up to it, take a picture. It's a cool place to visit. It's kind of out of the way, but it's definitely worth visiting if you're a Foo Fighters fan. And also, if you go there, just make sure you check out the alleyway with the Lemmy mural in it. Missed that the first time I was there. But those two albums were recorded there. The most recent one, But Here We Are, was also recorded there. So we had the studio, and then the albums immediately after this, which were, I think they did a greatest hits compilation, and then it was Wasting Light came out. Next studio album after this was Wasting Light, which they recorded at Dave's house. And then Sonic Highways followed that, and that was kind of recorded all over the United States. I actually am watching through the Sonic Highways documentary. I got that for Christmas. Amazing documentary there. But after that, they did Concrete Gold. Don't know where that was recorded. Menace at Midnight was recorded kind of in a house as well. And then they came back to 606 with But Here We Are. Anyhow, we're kind of getting, I'm digressing a little bit here. But again, their sixth studio album. Some people consider this one to be somewhat underrated. I think when it came out, it came out to pretty decent reviews. But a lot of the tracks people think about when they think about this album are probably The Pretender, and maybe that's it. All the other tracks on the album are also really good. It's a little bit more relaxed in nature, almost kind of name is escaping me, of course. But it relates, I think, a little closer to There Is Nothing Left to Lose than a lot of their other stuff. So this one has a lot more kind of, the rock songs on this one, the ones that actually go hard, go incredibly hard. The Pretender's up there with that. But then you have like songs like Summer's End and Statues, which are much more chilled out. Let's see here. Gil Norton, also the producer of The Color of the Shape, produced this one. Let me see here. And they came up, I guess, with a lot of the concept for this album with the In Your Honor tour, where the first half of In Your Honor is a 2 disc album. First half is rock, like basically like hard rock music. The other half is an acoustic set, and I think the Skin and Bones concert was kind of spawned out of that a little bit. But I remember reading about something about during my research for this, where Dave wanted an album that was, rock, but also fell into the acoustic area a little bit. And when they toured it, part of like them touring the previous album was that he was like, you can get it all in one place if you come to like this particular tour where they have, some hard hitting rock songs and then as well as some acoustic tracks as well. There was a lot of pre-production done on this album. I actually have a quote here from Taylor Hawkins about the pre-production here, about them playing these songs just a ton to get like everything kind of right before you go into a studio. So basically, getting all like the harmonies lined up and all that kind of stuff ahead of time. I'm trying to find the quote here. It was in the recording process about. Let me just search for it on here, and then we'll find it. Yeah, he talks about how they basically had to play the arrangements like they played each one like 100 or so times to get it correct. Here we go. Here's the quote. So Taylor was basically saying, quote, we basically played each of these songs 100 different times, trying every little thing every different way. So basically, getting all that kind of stuff, what works, what doesn't work, done before the album was recorded instead of like just like kind of messing around. Gil Norton, let me see here. Gil Norton had them do just a ton of pre-production to kind of get everything kind of like honed in right from the start. A lot of times, like some bands will basically just be like they'll be recording and then they'll like try something like in the recording process, be like that didn't work, change it up to this key, that kind of stuff. They didn't really do a lot of that here. They basically did all that kind of ahead of time instead of just kind of messing around in the studio while they were doing that. So just tons of pre-production. There's one track on the album called "The Ballad of the Beaconsfield Miners," and I think this is on. It's a deleted scene from the Back and Forth. I think the Back and Forth documentary, where Dave Grohl talks about the Beaconsfield miners in Australia who got caught in like a mine collapse. And one of the things they requested when they were down there was just an iPod with some Foo Fighters music on it. And the Foo Fighters music basically helped them get through that time until they got rescued. And then on a subsequent tour, I think that word of that reached Dave, and he reached out to them and said, "Hey, if we're ever in Australia, like you guys got free tickets to a show." I think he said only like one of them took him up on the offer, but they like went to the show, like went to the hotel bar afterward and had some drinks, stuff like that. I'll try to find the video because I think it's on YouTube, and I'll link it in the description. But he said like, well, I'm gonna write a song for you guys on the next album, and this one it's just an instrumental, almost like bluegrassy, just kind of bluegrassy vibe to it, and that's the Ballad of the Beaconsfield Miners, which we'll get to a little bit later when we get to the track list. A lot of the songs on the album, or at least a couple, really change tone like midway through midway through the song. So, like for example, I wrote down here "Come Alive" and "Let It Die," where "Let It Die" just starts off very almost like acoustically, and then just the "Why do you have to go and let it die" lyric just gets louder and louder, and then the music gets louder and louder as well. "Come Alive," the same way. A lot of the lyricism of this album was kind of came from the fact this was around the time period where the members of the band started having kids. So then, like, becoming parents influenced the writing on this record. Like, "Come Alive" specifically you can tell is about the birth of like one of Dave's daughters. So usually a lot of their songs, like it's kind of, you can interpret it many ways. I think "Come Alive" is kind of on the nose with what it's supposed to be about. It's one of the best songs on the album because it, again, starts off very slowly and then just builds up. "Let It Die" does the same kind of thing. Um, Basically, and they also got more comfortable with playing stuff like different genres. So, and they wanted the album to be different. Like according to the research I was doing, they wanted it to not just be like a straight up rock album, but also, unlike the previous album, they didn't want to have like two separate halves. So again, like I said, "In Your Honor" is there's a clear dividing point between like disc one and disc two, where disc one is rock, disc two is acoustic. They kind of have those tracks kind of mixed in throughout this album. So they definitely got more comfortable with just experimenting with different genres instead of just sticking to rock music. The album artwork on this album is incredible. It all kind of has various juxtapositions of stuff. So on the cover over there, you have, I think that's supposed to be like a bomb or a torpedo, and it has like a vacuum tube in it. I actually have the album on vinyl right here, so you can get a closer look up of that. So you have that artwork there. So just kind of something that's, like a bomb or a torpedo. That's something that's meant to destroy, with something that is, the opposite of that. It's just like a vacuum tube. But just really cool artwork on, let me pull this down. We'll just go from side for side here. So just, if it wants to actually focus, there we go. Some really great album artwork on here. I think some of their best album artwork, at least on the vinyl. Really great artwork on this. So again, that's the vinyl of it. Came out to some pretty good reviews, but also some kind of middling reviews. I think they were overall pretty good. Metacritic has it at a 71 out of 100. It's kind of middle of the road there. AllMusic has it at a 3 out of 5. Entertainment Weekly has it at an A, 4 out of 5 from Guardian. One really low review is 4.2 out of 10 from Pitchfork. Pitchfork is kind of notoriously harsh on. I think I really like their reviews because they actually don't really sugarcoat them, and usually the scores they're kind of rough, but usually I think they're pretty fair overall. Don't agree with the one here because it's a 4.2 out of 10. And I think when this album came out, it was, a lot of critics thought it kind of missed the mark because they maybe didn't necessarily appreciate the dual nature of the album, being some songs were more acoustic focused while some songs were more rock focused. So if you go in expecting entirely rock and not getting that, you may be a little bit disappointed. Anyhow, another lower review here. Pop Matters gave it a 4 out of 10. Q has it at a 4 out of 5. A B from Robert Triscow, or Chris Gow, I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize there. Looks like a 3.5 out of 5 from Rolling Stone. Spin has it at a 6 out of 10. And then Sputnik Music has it at a 2.5 out of 5. So some good reviews, and then some kind of in the middle. Some overall like pretty bad reviews. I think over time it's definitely gotten. I don't know if there's any of those reviews are retrospective reviews, because I feel that this album, maybe when it came out, it wasn't necessarily like as appreciated as it is now. Because like I said, even for me, it was kind of, a few years ago, it was kind of just more the middle. It may have been like, I may have ranked it like, like at like number 5 or number 6. And a few years ago, I think maybe they had done 9 or 10 albums. So it was kind of in the middle. And now after, like listening to it more, and it's just has definitely climbed the ranks for me personally. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200 when it came out, and now we're going to get to our track listing here. So let me actually just pull up the track list. We're looking at 12 tracks here for 51 minutes and 12 seconds. I think there's some bonus tracks on the European version, but we're just talking about the US version here. And I want to see, okay, yeah, so Rami Jaffe is kind of on this, but this is before he was a full member. So like the main members of Foo Fighters at this time, it was just a 4-piece band. So it's Dave Grohl, Nate Mendel, Taylor Hawkins, and Chris Shiflett. Pat Smear had not rejoined the band at this point, and I think Rami Jaffe at this point was just doing kind of like session work. He now is a full-fledged member of the band as well. So the band goes up to six, obviously replacing Taylor Hawkins with Josh Freese now. But who is it? Rami and Pat have been, with the band for a while, and I think Rami was made a full-fledged member somewhat within the last few years. But anyhow, back to the track list. 51 minutes and 12 seconds. Track one is a Pretender. It just starts off strong right there. One of their best songs and one of their most recognized songs now. They basically play that at pretty much every concert you're probably going to go to for the Foo Fighters. I don't know if there's anything else on this album that necessarily gets played every night when they play. I remember reading track lists for this most recent tour that they've wrapped up at the kind of tail end of last year, and the Pretender, I think the Pretender off this album was the only one that showed up at pretty much every show. And then there was a couple, I think LA shows where they played some of the deep cuts on this album as well. Anyhow, starts off really strong with the Pretender, goes into Let It Die. Let It Die is one of the songs where it starts off, very kind of almost acoustically, and then it just builds and builds and builds to become a huge rock song toward the end. So Let It Die is amazing. Track 3 is Erase/Replace. That was great as well. Track 4 is Long Road to Ruin. I think the only two songs on this album that showed up on the first greatest hits collection were The Pretender and Long Road to Ruin. Long Road to Ruin is really good, and I think it has one of Chris Shiflett's best guitar solos across his work with the Foo Fighters on that particular track. Track 5 is Come Alive. Again, that's the one that relates to specifically probably the birth of one of Dave's daughters, but also probably Taylor's kids were being born around the same time, or at least one of them. So I think this song, that's basically what it's about, and that, just like Let It Die, it starts off slow and just builds up and builds and builds, and then by the end of the song, the whole Come Alive lyric is being just screamed by Dave toward the end of that. That was really good as well. Track 6 is Stranger Things Have Happened. Track 7 is Cheer Up Boys, and then in parentheses, Your Makeup Is Running. That was great. Summer's End is track 8. Again, that's one of the more relaxed, kind of vibed out, acoustic-driven songs. Track 9, Ballad of the Beaconsfield Miners. That's the instrumental one that they did for the Beaconsfield Miners that were trapped in that mine collapse in Australia. That was entirely instrumental, kind of bluegrass in nature almost. Track 10, another one on the kind of a little bit more scaled back and acoustic style is Statues. That was incredible. Track 11 is But Honestly. And then finally, track 12 is Home. So it does look like, I think, maybe around track 6 or 7 is when it starts shifting more to the acoustic half. Cheer Up Boys, Your Makeup Is Running is kind of definitely more rock. Stranger Things Have Happened is kind of more acoustic. So the first half, there's The Pretender is definitely rock. Let It Die becomes that. Erase Replaces definitely rock. Long Road to Ruin definitely rock as well. Come Alive again starts off kind of slow, but then just builds up. Tracks after that is Stranger Things Have Happened. That's a little bit slower, but then track 7 goes right back to rock with Cheer Up Boys, Your Makeup Is Running, and then Summer's End through Home are more on the kind of scaled back, acoustic side of things. So overall, it's an incredible album. Like I said earlier in the video, it's definitely an album that has, I think, just gotten better for me over the last few years. Like I said before, it was kind of always in the middle, and now, like I said, it occupies my top 3 albums from the Foo Fighters. But that is going to do it for this video, for this initial episode of the 2025 series. We'll be back again in a week with a whole new album, or it won't be new necessarily, but a whole nother album, I should say. No idea what that's going to be yet. This might just be a mix of both new and old albums that I really like. And then I'll probably be starting a mini-series, just kind of recapping everything I did in 2024 musically. It'll honestly kind of be probably boring because it'll just be listing off every album I listen to, and then probably maybe I did reports for every quarter of last year with the genres and decades. I'll probably do a chart for those and things like that. that's a thing that's coming down, I'm working on. I don't know when that's gonna actually start. And then maybe this year we'll just do like a monthly recap or something for everything I listened to in January and February and so on. But again, that's gonna do it for now. So thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.